choose a map he hasn't practiced on, like Daybreak, because he obviously SeleCT's been in Korea most recently. And then he just went, okay, Shakuras, go. And obviously he's got something planned for that, so I'm really interested to see what he's got planned, and will ThorZaIN be able to keep up?
Yeah, and again, just to kind of talk about what happened in the first couple of games, SeleCT taking the first game in a longer game. It lasted about 30 minutes or so in the grand scheme of things, and then ThorZaIN coming back, and you know, a couple of decisions kind of deciding the grand scheme of victories there for game 1 and game 2. The interesting thing about this is that we wiped the slate clean. It's all about winning this matchup, and these guys want to start off the day 1-0 in their group.
Oh, definitely, especially when they've got 2 Korean players in the group as well to fight after these games are finished.
So let's introduce our players over here. As the blue Terran in the southeast, we've got Dignitas SeleCT. Give it up for him. And if you're a fan of this man over here, our red Terran in the southwest, Mao's ThorZaIN. Let's hear it.
And just looking over the replay, I mean, everything seemed, SeleCT just wasn't quite the same player. ThorZaIN's mechanics and his production just seemed a bit of a different level to SeleCT's, to be honest. I mean, he was consistently building like 16 Marines like every wave, and SeleCT was down to like 12 or so, and the upgrades were behind as well. And ThorZaIN was really driving that game, to be honest, and it just looked like ThorZaIN looked more confident in that second game overall.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Apollo, and there's another sort of interesting thing if you think about both of the games, in that the early 3 Reapers that came out by SeleCT were successful in game 1, which gave him a little bit of ground, and he was able to continue to roll with and capitalize on. But in game 2, it was very, very much shut down by ThorZaIN, where it looked like some damage was going to be done. ThorZaIN's defense, as you put it, was remarkable the entire game. And there's no doubt about it that, to me, that seemed like a very glaring difference in what had happened here. Now, SeleCT in game 1 went with that build. Game 2 went with that build. Very curious to see if he will continue to play that way in a TVT fashion.
Well, he's taken Refinery first before the barracks here, so it looks like he's going to be opening for a Cloak Banshee. I mean, compared to the previous patch, it always like, is it Cloak Banshee? Is it Blue Flame? And you don't really see Hellion openings anymore because of that change. So it's most likely going to be going to be Banshees here. And on this map, they're really effective because there is a lot of airspace behind, the main base, behind the natural. So SeleCT's control is one of the best as well. He can micro units like nobody else.
And I mean, based off of the location of this factory, I think you're absolutely right, as the SCV was ejected out of the base, and immediately SeleCT went for a western base build of this factory so he can have the starport obviously closer to his opponent's base. Meanwhile, over on the other side, ThorZaIN is taking a second gas now. His factory going to be a little bit later. We will see SeleCT's finish up first.
Yeah, and it's a big gamble to go Cloak Banshees because you invest a lot, and if you don't make the return from it, you are so far behind. And ThorZaIN scouted the early gas, he saw the late barracks, so he already knows what's coming to some certain extent. And so I wouldn't even be surprised, he's taking his double gas early. He could even make a relatively early Raven right off the bat and follow that up with a Viking, and this could be really nullified here. So SeleCT has to be so careful, and I cannot stress that enough. He has to make a return on this investment.
Right, which is pretty much typical. It kind of went back to his 3 Reaper opening. He didn't make a return as a very, very light investment in game 2. And in fact, the investment he made was honestly just the macro slipping a little bit, allowing ThorZaIN to take the lead. But there is the switch of the starport over to the tech lab. And based off of the amount of gas, there it is. We've got the cloak going down. The first Banshee's going to be right behind it. And what does he have? I mean, what does ThorZaIN have now to combat? Here we've got the tech lab down. You called it, Apollo. There's the Raven coming out right away. And that is certainly going to be something that will stuff this potentially Cloak Banshee.
Yeah, and once again, I'm sure we're going to see ThorZaIN's incredible defense again. And as soon as this Raven finishes, a Viking will follow. And even if the Banshee goes right now, there's already Marines. He's already got to react onto the barracks. He's got a lot of Marines to defend. Look at this. There's 8 Marines here just waiting for the Banshee to come. So SeleCT kind of revealed the information that ThorZaIN was looking for, and he stuck with it, which is really interesting. And I really can't find like how he can make a benefit here.
So we're going to be moving on now to about the 6-minute, 30-second point of this game there. We're going to see the move over. The Rax does manage to put on a reactor here for SeleCT. And here we've got now the Banshee moving over. But as you mentioned, he snuck in. What I do like about that from SeleCT is he didn't just kind of fly in and without caution not worry about it. He saw that Raven and realized that his options here are going to be incredibly limited.
Yeah, I mean, he actually, yeah, he did. He just cancelled the cloak. The Banshee doesn't have cloak. He lifted up the starport and has just left. And he's managing to pick up a couple of kills here. Gets 2 and a Marine, but the Banshee is going to go down. So 2 SCVs and a single Marine and half a health Marine. That's not worth it. And he had to cancel the cloak. He had to switch up the starport, which means all his tank and siege mode is really behind in everything. So. And this is going to be a deadly counterattack push.
This is exactly what kind of happened in game number 2, Apollo. SeleCT went for something. I mean, I would say in game 2 it was not nearly as risky as going with the sort of Cloak Banshee. He had a lot of temporary gas invested there as he was going with Cloak, and then realized quickly that the attack was going to be thwarted. And you're absolutely right. That one decision put SeleCT a little bit behind, and ThorZaIN identifies that, realizes it, and just appears to be going in for the jugular. We're going to have one tank up here on the ledge, but he does not have siege mode yet. There is just a handful of Marines here, and with siege mode about ready to finish, actually it's going to be finishing up for SeleCT here first, so he's going to have to get into a defensive posture, and is waiting, but the front door could be broken down. Looks like he's not going to go after it. He's backs off just a little bit. And there now we have, with the Raven throwing down some auto turrets here, it does look like he's going to go ahead and move forward, and that tank is going to be exposed, hitting those Marines right on, and the SCVs pull out for the repair, but the tank goes down and ThorZaIN is inside.
GG.
GG.
What can you say? What can you say? I mean, the build was... There was nothing wrong with ThorZaIN's play. He played absolutely fantastic. He read the game and was like, all right, if you're going to do that, I'm going to counter it.